Welcome in the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here bringing you the second Ride the Line on the new YouTube channel, even though it's like the millionth Ride the Line. And you can't teach that. Bada boom. Man, the people in the room. Grant, are you riding today?
I'm riding, Tanner, riding into the second episode on the new channel. Feeling pretty good after that Monday episode. I feel like it was a good way to get the new channel started. And yeah, I mean, it's just Thursday. Looking forward to Friday. Got some fun plans for the weekend. I'm going to a karaoke bar, which I've never been to before. I'm not much of a singer myself, so I think there's going to be some, I think there might be a little bit of beverages assisting me in my quest for karaoke, but it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to sit on the couch all weekend and watch the Masters like a real man. Like a real man.
All right. Well, if a real man was to go do karaoke, what song you picking? Born in the USA?
Probably something country, like something like upbeat and country, get the people going a little bit. I can sing. I sing like John Mayer. That's what some ladies have told me. Ladies have told me that in the past, that I sing like John Mayer.
How many ladies exactly?
One, and she turned out to be a freaking whack job. So I don't know if it's true or not, but every time a John Mayer song comes on, I'll be like, I sing like John Mayer. So that one did stick with me. I still think of this lady because of that, but she is a psychotic, crazy woman.
I think she's crazy for telling you sing like John Mayer. I haven't even heard you sing before, but I have a hard time placing that. When I was in middle school, I was in, elementary school too, but in middle school, I did chorus. I was actually pretty good. And then my voice changed and I just lost every sort of musical ability that I had. Now, it's never come back to me since then.
Everyone did chorus in middle school. Like you were forced to do chorus in middle school and elementary, at least for us. Not
yeah, we had chorus, orchestra, and band as the three choices, and you had to take one.
I remember in elementary school, you had to do chorus. Like you didn't have to, but it was like highly recommended. And the kids are like, I'm not doing chorus. Like F this. The teachers, like that was their break period. And, teachers, the majority of teachers, I'm not saying I don't want to pin teachers in the corner here. A lot of them don't actually want to teach. They just want to chill. So there was a break period and the kids were like, they made their lives miserable, gave them homework, made them clean the classroom the second day they were at chorus because they just wanted their free time.
I think a lot of teachers do end up regretting teaching. Like, I think they want to teach, but then once they get started and they just see everything that comes with it. I mean, imagine if you're literally going to work 40 hours a week to run around with, 30 snotty 6-year-olds. That doesn't sound like my definition of fun.
There's a lot of good teachers out. Like, I don't want to pin there. There's a lot of teachers that want to teach. There's also a lot of bad teachers that I had along the way that you could tell didn't want to teach. And now looking back on it as like an adult, you could tell even more that they didn't want to teach. So shout out to the teachers that want to teach. If you don't want to teach, get out of teaching because you're messing up the kids.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out to all the teachers out there. Probably one of, if not the most important job in America.
Yeah, teachers that are sitting on the couch watching the Masters like real men this weekend. Anyways, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. We're trying to build this platform up. Subscribe, like, share, turn the bell notifications on. Do it all, guys. Get it in. And let's get Ride the Line going to the moon on this new YouTube channel.
Yep, 100%. And do all of that. And we are going to go ahead and jump into some news. So yesterday we had a really big game in the NBA. It's been a really big couple of days over there in the association. Last night, the Denver Nuggets beat the Minnesota Timberwolves by 9 points. They basically secure themselves the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Coming into this game, Tanner, I was making the case. I was on the Timberwolves spread plus 5.5. It was pretty close. I mean, this was a very back and forth game. Minnesota would have the lead for 5 minutes. Then Denver would have it for 5 minutes. No team really able to pull ahead further than 4 or 5 points. Then Denver manages to put together a little, I think it was a 10-0 or 13-3 run, something like that in the fourth quarter. And that ultimately ended up being the difference. That is what you're going to get with Denver. I mean, they're one of the most well-disciplined and they're one of the teams that has the highest level of execution. So when you get to the late fourth quarter situations, that's where they shine. I made the case before this game that Minnesota is probably the worst matchup for them in the whole West. Going into that game, they led the season series 2-1. Obviously, now it is 2-2. Minnesota also, just by virtue of their defensive personnel can match up with Jokic and company in a way that no other team can. You know, you can have, whether it's Naz Reid or Cat on Jokic, you can have Gobert behind as a roamer, you can have Jaden McDaniels on Jamal Murray. I thought that was a very good recipe. And again, you did see some of that come into play here. But ultimately, I mean, Jokic, when he was able to get one-on-one on Gobert, who's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year, made him look like a child. He was just tossing him around, had 41 points this game. So huge win for the Nuggets. They get the number 1 seed in the West. But I think if these teams do match up in a playoff series, could be pretty interesting.
I would still lean Nuggets in that playoff series. I think what we saw in this game was good teams that know how to win, find a way to win. I'm not saying the Timberwolves don't know how to win. They've won 55 games this year, but that experience that Denver has in the big game, the playoff atmosphere, which this game was, they found a way. I mean, they shot 55% from the field. Minnesota shot 50. They just outdid them there. Slightly better from 3-point. They did turn the ball over a little more, but they bodied them on the glass too. And that's the biggest thing that you're going to get with this Denver team. When you get in the playoffs, they know how to win. That's why everyone's talking about the Celtics and how great the Celtics are. If we do get the Nuggets versus Celtics matchup, I am concerned because I think overall the talent might be a little better for Boston, but just a team that knows how to win and knows how to finish in the fourth quarter. That's exactly what you're getting with Denver Nuggets. And that's what we saw in this game.
Yeah, and to build off of what you were saying there, I don't know if you've tuned into any episodes of LeBron and JJ Redick's new podcast, but LeBron basically said when the Celtics played the Warriors in 21-22 in the finals, he thought the Celtics were the much more talented team, but Golden State had a higher IQ. They were able to execute better. They made smarter plays. And I do think Boston is smarter than they were back then, but I also don't know if you're going to find a smarter player than Jokic and a smarter team than the Nuggets. So that championship experience, that IQ is definitely going to be crucial for them when they do get into these game 6s, game 7s in the playoffs, because they're not going to dominate everybody like they did last year. You know, they had 1 game 6, 2 game 5s, and they had a sweep in there. I don't think it's going to be like that for them in this run to the championship this year.
No, they're going to have to earn it here. Now, looking at the Western Conference, value-wise, there's probably a little more on Minnesota. You're getting a better price. But who would you lean towards in the conference?
I still think Denver is absolutely the team to beat. I still think they are the best team. But if I'm not going Denver, and I do want to get these betting odds up here because I think it would be pretty cool to look at the value comparison across some of them. These odds are coming from FanDuel Sportsbook. By the way, guys, any sportsbook we mentioned on here and any sportsbook we don't. If you want to go get some promo codes, find out what's going on, get some extra bonuses, go on over to WSN.com. We got them all over there. But yeah, if I'm looking at a team to come out of the Western Conference that isn't the Denver Nuggets, then what I honestly think a team that has a great chance is the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, you look at the way they've been playing recently. They've won 16 of the last 18 games. Remarkably, despite having Luka and Kyrie, you would think this is an offensive team. They've got the number 1 defensive rating during that time. They're rebounding the ball a lot better. That's without Derek Lively playing. I think this is an extremely dangerous team. And you look at their odds to win the West, not just the finals, the odds to win the West. Again, from FanDuel, they're at plus 1,300. That's below the Clippers. That's below the Thunder, the Timberwolves, and the Suns. The Phoenix Suns, who were down 35-4 against the Clippers without Harden or Kawhi the other day. I don't trust the Suns at all, but that's another tangent. I think Dallas is definitely a team you got to watch here. And from a value perspective, I think they are the best bet, even though I do like Denver just overall, irrespective of the odds.
Yeah, it's hard to pick Denver based on the odds, but like I got to go with the chalk here. It's the Celtics and the Nuggets because in the NBA, the better team tends to win over 7 games. Like you said, there are some teams that have some definitely high upside, like the Dallas Mavericks. But overall, when you look at a team that knows how to finish, knows how to close, it's definitely the Denver Nuggets here. So the betting odds, you got to get in on them early. That's the bottom line here.
You know what's so interesting about the West too is I feel like if you take Denver out of it, everything else comes down to a matchup. Like the Clippers are second in odds to win the West. They've got the Mavericks in the first round. I hate that matchup for them. I think they lose that one. If the Suns end up coming across the Lakers or the Kings, I think the Suns lose. If the Thunder play probably the Timberwolves or the Lakers, I think they lose because they don't have enough size. With Minnesota, who I just said is probably the toughest matchup for Denver, if they play Dallas or another high-powered offensive team, like even if Golden State catches a heater, I don't know if Minnesota has the offense to go back at them. So I really do feel like it's hard to bet a future in the West just because we're still not sure what the matchups are. Maybe it'll become easier once we see the actual bracket.
Yeah, now in the East, it's more the Celtics and everybody else. You got the Bucks at 7-1. We're going to talk about a major injury that they just had with Giannis. But overall, looking at the East, would you agree it's just the Celtics? If they don't get to the finals, it's going to be a very disappointing season.
Beyond that, if the Celtics don't win the finals, it's a catastrophe. It's a total failure of a year. They have been so dominant. I mean, their net rating this season is plus 11.7. The next closest is plus 6.1. So basically, Boston is twice as good as the second best team in basketball. That according to net rating, they're I think 35-3 at home. So it's something, or 38-3. I don't know what it is, but they're just dominating everybody. They've got the personnel. You know, Joe Mazzulla yet to be proven in a playoff context, but you know, last year was his first year and he was kind of flung into the fire. This is his first full year, knowing throughout the offseason he was going to be the coach. He's done an excellent job with this team. If Boston doesn't win the finals, man, they've got to start taking some blame at some point. I do feel like even though Boston is talked about, I don't feel like they catch enough heat for consistently getting to the big moments and losing. Now, granted, you want to be in the big moments and they deserve credit for getting there, but at some point you've got to get over the hump. And if this isn't the team to do it, I don't know what will be.
Well, I was listening to JJ Redick and LeBron's podcast, and they were talking about Tatum, right? How much like Tatum gets a lot of flack for losing in these big games, but he's only 25 years old. Like LeBron's like, I didn't have a ring at Tatum's age, and he's done a lot more than I have as far as getting deep in the playoffs and finding ways to win the Eastern Conference and get in the finals. So I think as a whole, the Celtics team, like we still need to remember, they're really young. And like they're going to get there eventually. They're going to get over the hump. This could be the season that they do it. But they've done a lot of winning with a really young, star-studded roster.
No, they have in the past. I agree. And that's why I'm not saying Tatum needs to get it done. I'm saying Boston needs to get it done because, you know, Tatum is 20, 25, 26, whatever it is. I think LeBron won his first ring at 28, Jordan at 28. Kobe, his first three rings were with Shaq, and he was an Finals MVP. I think the first time he won a ring on his own was when he was 29. So, like, yes, Tatum is definitely still young. We want to try to rush perfection and greatness when it's convenient for us to rush it. That's not always how it happens. But when you look at Jaylen Brown, who's 27, 28, when you've got Al Horford, who's a veteran, Porzingis, who's about 30, Drew Holiday, who's 33, Derek White, who's an experienced veteran. This is the time for the team, not for Tatum, but for the team to get the job done.
But the thing that sucks about playing in a big market like Boston, the team's there. Like you added Kristaps Porzingis, you added Drew Holiday, you have Jaylen Brown. But the one guy that it's going to come down on is Jayson Tatum, no matter what happens, because he's going to be the one taking the big shots in the big games. If he's not performing, if the team's not performing, chances are he's not making those big shots as we've seen in the playoffs. And that's why I think he gets the bad reputation sometimes. But I love Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum's that guy. I just hate how he hangs his head. He hangs his head a lot. When things go downhill, they go downhill quick for him. And I think that's something that he needs to shake getting into the playoffs and in his ability to get over the hump.
Yeah, and especially in the late game situations, I mean, he just takes some awful shots at the end of the games. And to your point, like if fourth quarter, he misses a fadeaway buzzer beater, you know, the game goes to overtime, he just sits there with his head down. It's like, man, like, you're so much better than this. You could have created such a better shot opportunity that you shouldn't be looking this dejected that you missed that shot. Like, how about instead of waiting for 3 seconds on the clock to actually try to create the shot, why don't you get into it at 10, 12 seconds left? Why don't you try to find the open look or just run a better offense late in the game? I just don't get Boston. Like, they play so fast in the first quarter and then everything just slows down in the fourth. And that, if you want my biggest concern with them, it's that their tempo at the end of the games is just so bad. I really worry how they're going to get into their offense in the end of games and clutch moments, because that's been their biggest problem with the Tatum Brown core.
Definitely. Now, the one saving grace, again, the Eastern Conference is not that loaded. You have the Bucks, you have the Sixers, the Cavs, the Heat, probably the most dangerous team for the Celtics because we know what Jimmy Butler can do against Boston. But looking at the Bucks now, Grant, I'm not the first to report this. Allegedly, Giannis does have 3 legs. Okay. I'm not the first to report that. He has acknowledged that himself.
He does love calling himself the freak.
Yes. So he does have 3 legs, and that has been acknowledged by the media multiple times. So I'm just reporting that. But he sprained. What did he do? Sprain an ankle in one of the legs.
He strained his calf or
strained his calf.
Yeah.
In one.
I think it was a calf. That's what they're calling it, a calf strain.
which is dangerous because, as you were saying before, that could lead to potentially an ACL.
Achilles.
Achilles, yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah,
I'm not
the same injury he has is the one that Kevin Durant had when he was with the Warriors in 18 or 19. I think maybe 19. I don't know, but the point being, we know how that turned out. You know, he came back and then tore his Achilles after 11 minutes in his first game back.
So basically, looking at the Bucks right now, I mean, again, with Giannis, you always give yourself a chance. But if you take out Giannis and you're relying on Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton to get the job done, I don't think it's going to go very smoothly in the Eastern Conference playoffs.
No way. I mean, what Giannis is doing, you know, Giannis isn't going to win the MVP. In my opinion, if you get a coach fired, not that Giannis personally made that decision, but if your coach is fired in the middle of the year, I don't see how you can win an MVP. But what Giannis is doing is unprecedented. I mean, he's still on pace to be the first player in NBA history to average 30 points and 10 rebounds on 60% or better shooting. He's doing it in style. He's at 30 and a half points, 11 and a half rebounds, and better than 61% from the field. Like, these are truly unprecedented numbers. But if you take him out of this team, I don't know where they are. I mean, their defense is a mess as it is with him, and he's won a defensive player of the year before. Damian Lillard, his numbers aren't bad. You know, they're 24 and a half points, 7 assists. That sounds good, but that's not the Dame we know, and that's not the Dame we're used to. You look at his 3-point percentage, he's at 35.6% from the year. This is the second greatest shooter on planet Earth behind Steph Curry, giving you below league average numbers on a higher volume, higher difficulty, sure, but this isn't the Dame that we've come to know and love. So to your point, if Giannis can't play or if he's, you know, banged up whatsoever, no, this team has no hope. This team barely has any hope as it is with him at 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like this said, the Eastern Conference, Celtics, everyone else. I am a little worried about the Heat, but outside of them, I think Boston, like you said, if they don't get there, if they don't win the finals, it's a massive disappointment. And Giannis being on the floor for the Bucks or not on the floor doesn't make the difference. It still, if the Celtics don't get there and win the Eastern Conference, it's a disappointment.
I don't know if you'll remember this, but I did pick the Heat to beat the Celtics last year. I say that to say that if there was a reason to have confidence in the Heat, I would tell you there's no reason to pick them. The promising signs they have, their defense is good. Since the All-Star break, I think they're top 5 in defensive rating, but their offense is just so bad. And Jimmy Butler, I think he's getting high on his own supply. Like, he knows that when it's later in the year, he can turn it on. So he's been telling the media, oh, it's about that time. I'm coming. Here we come. And he hasn't really played any better. You know, he's not playing bad. Like, he's giving you 17, 18, 20 points a game, but it's not like he was in the playoffs where he was like consistently 35 plus every game. And this team just isn't playing great basketball. I mean, 6-4 over their last 10. Sure, that's okay. They're 1 game over 500 at home. They're going to have to probably beat the 76ers in the play-in tournament, unless they want to go to the second game of the play-in, and then it's a do or die game. There's no reason to be confident in them. The Bucks, obviously, they've got their problems. The Knicks are a phenomenal story. They've done a phenomenal job, but without Julius Randle, at some point, if you're missing a guy that can give you 25 points a game, that's going to come back to bite you. The Cavs have lost 8 of 11. The Magic don't have the offense and they're young. The Pacers don't have the defense. Like, there are clear, massive flaws with every team in the East. Boston has to get the job done.
It's all about the C's. All about the C's. That's what it comes down to. Well, we got some NFL draft coming up, which very excited about that. The quarterbacks is going to be interesting, that whole situation. We got Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ McCarthy just, skyrocketing up the board because of Harbaugh's comments. I think that had to boost him up. I'm not down on JJ McCarthy. I still think he's going to be an okay quarterback, but I can't sit here and say he's a top 5 pick in the class that we have. But what are your thoughts overall on the quarterbacks right now? And for your Commanders, who are you hoping that they get?
So it seems like the Commanders, first of all, Caleb Williams, if he doesn't go first overall, fire everybody in the Bears organization. Caleb is the best prospect in this draft, one of the best prospects. I mean, I'm 26 years old. I'm not going to act like I have a long history of draft breakdowns, but he's the best prospect that I can remember seeing. After that, with Drake May, Jaden Daniels.
Can I disagree with that?
With Caleb?
I think there's too much antics off the field to say that I'm comfortable drafting him.
I think that's just a media thing. Like all of his teammates, all of his coaches have stuck up for him. I think people just don't like the painted nails, the crying at the podium. All his
I'm not
teammates say he's like they want to play for him, so I don't have any worries about that.
my biggest issue is not wanting to go out and compete. That's my biggest issue. Out of all of it, the paint nails, the pink phone, okay, I don't give a shit about that. I think his his cockiness and arrogance at the combine and then not going out and competing, I have a problem with that.
Okay. You have a problem with that. So are you passing on Caleb first? You're taking Jaden Daniels or Drake May?
You probably can't do it because of the I don't think I'm not saying he's they're a better prospect, but everyone that's like we talked about Trevor Lawrence a few years ago, the greatest quarterback prospect of this generation. Like it's hard to amount to something in the NFL, whether you're the first pick, the second pick, or the third pick. And the amount of pressure that's going to be on him because of those off the field antics in the media and playing in Chicago, like he needs to win right away too. Walking into the situation that he's coming into with the Bears, this could easily be a playoff team.
Well, here's the thing. I think he will win right away because the Bears last year with Justin Fields is a divisive character in the NFL. Some people still think he's a Pro Bowler in the future. Some people think he's a bust and he doesn't deserve to have a job. Whatever you feel about him, Justin Fields played half of the year. Tyson Bagent played some of the year. Their defense was like horrendous at the start of the year. They had some injuries on the offensive side, and they still won 7 games. So, yeah, it's a tougher division because the Packers were pretty good, and they came to life at the end of the year. The Lions, obviously, one of the top teams in the NFC now. It's crazy that we have to say that. But the rest of the Bears' schedule isn't overly tough. I think their win total is like 8.5. So, I mean, if Caleb gives you equal production to Fields and Bagent, this team wins 7 to 8 games, and I think he's going to do better than that.
You got some analysts out there who are saying he's not the top guy, and again, you don't know who's going to be the top guy until you get out there. But for him, and like seeing him cry after losing to UCLA or whatever with his parents in the stands, like there's just a lot of things with Caleb Williams that strikes me like he can't handle the adversity. That's what scares me a little bit. So you're going to get adversity right away and you have to win. Like you're going into a situation where if you win, you're going to be a god. But if you don't win right away with this Bears team, you're in trouble.
I still think you have to take him first overall, though.
Unless I agree. Yeah. He's not Jaden Daniels and JJ McCarthy, but I think there's some flaws that people are seeing with the off the field antics.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll find out soon enough. So my Commanders being second, my Commanders, like I own the team. If I did own the team, I would heavily consider trading back. I get that this is a quarterback heavy draft, so it would make sense to kind of plant your flag for the future, but I don't think the team is ready to support a rookie quarterback yet. Now, I guess the counter argument to that is if he's the guy, he doesn't need a team around him. Like he will show you he is the guy. You know, you can build around me now. A la what Joe Burrow did with the Bengals, right? Because the Bengals were atrocious. You know, granted they got Jamar Chase the following year, but even before that, you could tell Burrow was the guy. So I get wanting to take the quarterback there. I would go Drake May over Jaden Daniels. I don't love Drake May. I don't love Jaden Daniels. I think they've both got some pretty clear flaws, but I think Drake May is the more likely of the two to stay healthy long term. I think he also makes some fewer head scratching plays. You know, I do want to talk about JJ McCarthy, but because your Patriots have the 3rd pick. So whoever we don't pick, probably going to be your quarterback. So where would you go with the 2nd and then the 3rd pick?
I'm already done with the Patriots. They already messed up. You should have took Justin Fields. And you should have drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. Now you got to draft a quarterback. Or you should have just kept Mac Jones for another year and Bailey Zappi and let them battle it out, because this is a rebuild in general. Like we are rebuilding as big of a rebuild as it gets. Like let's add some weapons. Like Mac Jones had no offensive line and no weapons. And I know you don't like Mac Jones. I know you hate Mac Jones. You're a Mac Jones hater. And that's a separate issue here. But the fact that he had absolutely no offensive line and no wide receivers, you can't win like that in the NFL. So let's see what they could do, Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones, with some talent. And they didn't do that.
I agree with the weapons part. I don't know if I agree with the keeping Jones and Zappi, but I get your point. I said that all of last year too. You know, I'm not I want to say I'm not biased. Everybody is biased, but I'm not stupid and, I'm not unfair. I said the Patriots had probably a bottom 2, bottom 3 skill position group, and they had, a bottom 10 offensive line. So, yes, if it is Drake May or Jaden Daniels, and by the way, I think Daniels would struggle more since he is a more mobile quarterback. That means he's probably going to have more of an inclination to run before he throws it. So, for all of that, plus a rookie head coach who's not even 40 years old yet, I think it's definitely a tough situation in New England there.
Yeah, they're gonna get a quarterback. It's either gonna be Drake May or Jaden Daniels. I probably feel better about Jaden Daniels. I've watched a lot more Jaden Daniels, and I really do like him. I'm not saying he's going to be the next great quarterback. Like, it's hard to even judge a quarterback because when you think of Patriots, you think of Tom Brady. So I wish they would have kept Mac Jones, see what he could do, or Bailey Zappi even, or got Justin Fields. Like, just did it so you could get receiver talent in this draft. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., I think is going to be the next big thing.
Yep.
And if you had a quarterback, like Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Drake May, like there's going to be growing pains with all of them, and none of them might amount to anything. Like, at least with Justin Fields, I know he's going to give you big play upside, which we didn't have last year. I know if you add Marvin Harrison Jr. to the mix and a little offensive line talent, you're probably going to be a lot better on offense than you were last year. And your defense is good. It's been good. So what are we doing here? Why are we rebuilding with a quarterback?
The JJ McCarthy thing really confuses me because some reporters are saying the Commanders like him. They might take him second overall. But then I think back to what happened with Will Levis last year. I don't know if you remember this. At one point, we were talking about, is Will Levis going to be the first overall pick? And, some of it, funnily enough, had to do with that Reddit post. But there were also a lot of reporters saying, hey, no, this is real. The Carolina Panthers like Will Levis. He might go first overall. He falls to the second round. So I don't know if I'm a little jaded by that. But when I look at JJ McCarthy, I can't help but think, how is this maybe the best quarterback in the draft, but he wasn't allowed to throw the ball in college? He made plays. Don't get me wrong. They do not win the national championship without JJ McCarthy. The strength of their team was the line. The strength of their team was the run game. I understand that. But at the same time, if you have good receivers, you had a Roman Wilson and guys, you had that amazing offensive line. If you have the best quarterback in the draft, why are you running the ball? It just doesn't add up. You can have a balance, okay, but they just didn't want McCarthy to throw the ball that much. So I don't know. Like, I'm not saying he falls to the second round here, but I'm just saying I have no idea what's going to happen to him here.
That's a great comparison. I think it's a great comparison in a way because like JJ McCarthy and Will Levis had two different college careers. And, JJ McCarthy obviously trumped Will Levis's college career. But also, I could see JJ McCarthy being that guy that drops to the second round. Like we were talking last year, CJ Stroud. And I think the Reddit posts like help build on all this. Like, okay, so now we see CJ Stroud's test scores and they're terrible. And now he's going to fall to the second round and Will Levis is going to move up even more. So everything kind of like played into that narrative of Will Levis going early. But it wouldn't surprise me if JJ McCarthy does drop. It wouldn't surprise me if the Patriots drafted. I'm kind of at that point. I have no clue who the Patriots are going to pick. It could be Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, or Drake May. One of those guys won't be on the board because the Commanders will take them second. So you're going to get to pick two out of those three guys. And I have no clue who it's going to be.
And you know what else is possible? It's possible we get Caleb 1, either Drake or Jaden 2-3. I feel like that's pretty much a lock. Apparently, JJ might go 4 or 5 if a team trades up. And then you could get Bo Nix to the Broncos at 12 and Michael Penix to the Raiders at 13. And that's 6 quarterbacks off the board in the first 13 picks.
Yeah, it's a lot. And is Michael Penix, I from what I was hearing, like Michael Penix more of a second round pick. But I know a lot of mock drafts have him going in the first round. He can sling it for sure. Again, it's so hard to develop as a quarterback. I think you have just as good of a chance as drafting a quarterback in the second round as you do in the fourth round and having them amount to something. If you look at all the quarterbacks over the years, it's hard to be a top pick and produce. That's just because it's hard to be successful in the NFL no matter where you're drafted.
And all of these top picks, pretty much 99.9% of them go into very bad situations.
Yeah. So like, that's the thing for Caleb. Like he's got a great situation. I don't think your commies have a great situation. I'm sorry, nope. Grant, but I think the Patriots have an okay situation because they have a good defense and because there's a winning history there. But
I don't know about that. I think it's easier to step into Washington's offense year one than it is New England's.
Yeah, probably. But I think if I had to pick a franchise to go to, I would rather go there for sure. Because and especially in that division too, right now, like the AFC East is starting to slide back a little bit. You got the
Yeah,
Jets,
that's
you have the Bills, and the Bills lost Stephon Diggs. You have the Dolphins, who can't seem to win anything with talent. Like it's not the craziest division in the world right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving on over to some more news back in the NBA side of things. Jontay Porter, the brother of Michael Porter Jr., Toronto Raptors center. Yesterday, Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, said that he could ban him for life. If you guys don't know, Jontay Porter was involved in some sort of betting scandal. We have no idea what his role in it is. We don't know if he was involved at all. But here are the facts. There are two games in particular that stand out of interest. One in late January, one in late March, one against the Clippers, one against the Kings. In both of those games, Jontay Porter exited within 4 minutes due to strange circumstances. In one, he re-aggravated an eye injury. I think that's a funny way to say he got poked in the eye. And in the other one, he felt ill, but he didn't report that he was sick before the game. During both of those games, some bettors, I believe it was at DraftKings, I'm not totally sure on that, but bettors were trying to get down upwards of $20,000 on the under of Jontay Porter's props, his prop bets. He didn't score in either one of those games. The most rebounds he had was 3. The most assists he had was 1. So a lot of those prop bets did ultimately cash. Now, just straight up, Tanner, how stupid do you have to be in the NBA and actually, if he did do this, blatantly rig not games, but your own performances in the most obvious way possible?
I will never understand why players get involved with the betting side of things. I know there's a lot of money in it, but Jontay Porter is making $5.8 million over 3 years. That's his current contract. He's making nearly $2 million annually. Nobody is going to let you put down $1 million on a prop bet. You are not going to make, I know you might get money shelved in the side from the mafia or whoever's involved in this, but I don't know why you would want to risk your career, risk your reputation, risk your way of making money to get involved in gambling. I don't understand it. I will never understand it. You're making $2 million a year. You're doing fine. You had a $2.2 million signing bonus. You might not be a superstar like your brother, but you're throwing your career away to get involved in something that is not going to be a long-term financial solution for your life.
And you know what's funny? Like you have to have a certain level of self-awareness, because I saw people going through his tweets and stuff. He did some interview where he said that I think he said he was actively involved in trading. He had an account, a Twitter account dedicated to trading and sports betting. He had tweeted somebody, thanks for the parlays before. And so it's very obvious that he thinks about money. There's a podcast clip where he said he has like small accounts where he'll start with, I think, 1,000, try to get it to 10,000, or start with 10,000, try to run it up even more on sports betting. I don't know what the numbers were, but it's been very obvious from past evidence that he thinks about money a lot, whether it is sports betting, investing, whatever the case may be. When you get to the NBA, to your point, and millions of dollars at stake, you're 24 years old. You've got your whole life ahead of you, but you have spent 24 years preparing, trying to get to this point. You know, you were one of the better players in high school. You go to Missouri with Michael Porter Jr. You ultimately get to the NBA. You fall out for a couple of years. You're in the G League. Now you're back. It's your chance. And you just do this. You know, I don't know if he's looking at it from the perspective of, I'm not going to be here long, so I have to maximize it while I can. But I just don't know. I just don't understand it. And above all, your brother makes $200 million. You don't need the money. You can just go ask him. This is your bloodline. Hey, Mike, I can't afford the rent this month. Why? You're making millions of dollars. He has $200 million. There's just no need to do this. And I know we have an investigation open. I don't see how he's not involved. And if he is involved, Adam Silver, 2 months after he was named NBA commissioner, banned Donald Sterling for life. You don't think he might ban you for life as the first culprit of sports betting nefarious activity in the NBA? Jontay Porter has a lifetime ban coming his way.
Yeah, because again, he's not important to the league. Like nobody's going to forget Jontay Porter. Nobody's going to remember he was even here. So like you're meaningless as it is, and now you're going to gamble and risk your career. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand it. I will never understand any players that get involved in gambling because, again, like 2.3 million, like that's his career earnings right now after 3 seasons. I know there's some G League in there, but like that's a lot of money. You've made a lot of money by the age of 24 already. So if you can just make another 2 years, you're going to make another $3 million. And then it's like you already got 6 million in the bank. So what's gambling going to do for you?
Yeah, I just don't get it. The other little bit of fun news before we get out of here. This is actually your story, so I will let you take it away.
Tiger Woods is about to be smashing the ball like 800 yards off the tee at Augusta National. He has said he is allegedly, reports are that he is no longer having intercourse leading into the Masters because he wants to be fully focused on the competition and the golf. I love this for him. I think it's great. His back's not going to get thrown out on the course this year. That's what that means. And he also is going to be hitting freaking nukes off the tee because he's just got so much testosterone built up in those freaking champion veins of his. I did bet him to make the cut. I did not bet him to win. I still don't think this is going to save him, but I did bet him to make the cut after I saw that right away.
It's funny. When I was a freshman in college, there was a senior on our track team who tried to impose bans of varying lengths for contact with the opposing sex to see if there was any sort of actual performance boost depending on how long you were away. So everybody was prescribed different intervals of time they were supposed to avoid again contact with the opposing sex before our meets, our competitions. I don't know how many people upheld those standards and obliged to their prescribed window. And I ultimately don't know if he ever discovered any findings from them, but good for Tiger. I hope it works out for him. Anything you can do to stay locked in.
He better make the cut now. Like if he doesn't make the cut and he did this, it wasn't worth it. So just make the cut. That's all I'm asking. Anyways, Grant, that was a fun little edition of Ride the Line on a Thursday here. We'll be back on Monday, Thursday. Now I like the new mix.
Yeah, 100%. And guys, as we get on out of here, before you click off, do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Like Tanner said, we are going to be here posting content pretty much every week. Like the video if you did enjoy. Drop some comments. Let us know what you're looking forward to this weekend. And if you were going to go sing karaoke, which song are you picking? Let us know.
That was Ride the Line, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. I do sound like John Mayer, and we'll see you next time for another episode.